It's a brand new season and episode here at On the Path, and we are finishing strong. Coming up next, I am speaking with purpose coach, speaker, and brand new author, Nicole Salmon, and she is going to help us finish this year well and how we can set a plan to really align with our divine purpose for the next year. Guys, she talks about how to shed this formula success model that we've all done before and how to see things in a new and fresh way. And it's an incredible conversation about really aligning ourselves with all of the things that light us up and how to measure true success. You don't want to miss this conversation, available on all podcast platforms or on YouTube. You can stream it into the castle, watch it on Yes TV. We're going to finish with a bang, and I will see you on the path.
You're listening to On the Path podcast with Cheryl Nembhard, brought to you by Fight for Freedom. Follow Cheryl Nembhard on all social media platforms.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On the Path. I am so excited to have you with me. As I always say, with us, we are in the classroom of life. We are learning along the path that God has called us to, and we are sitting at the feet of incredible teachers who are not only sharing from their skill set and their gifting, but from the brokenness of their own lives. They're telling vulnerable stories, and we are growing stronger and learning more as we go because of it. We have another incredible guest. I am so excited to bring this voice to you. This is a name you need to know. I'm so excited to talk to Nicole Salmon today. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Nicole Salmon is a purpose coach and strategist and is a credentialed minister of over 12 years. And she extends that passion in her role as associate pastor at EKM, that's in Toronto, Ontario. And before stepping into full-time purpose and launching of her own Christian coaching firm, she worked in the not-for-profit sector for over 20 years, managing skills development programs for organizations serving communities experiencing marginalization. What I'm excited about, she's also an author of an upcoming book, guys, called Courage and Confidence, which is soon to come. And she is a regular contributor on the YouVersion Bible app, and she has over 100,000 subscribers. I love it. Would you welcome to On the Path, the one and only Nicole Salmon?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Cheryl. It's really an honor.
I'm so excited to have you with me, Nicole. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I have had the privilege of sitting under your leadership, your ministry, and my goodness, you are such a resource of encouragement, of strategy, of developing. I got to ask you, like, how did you come into who you are, and what's your story?
How much time do we have? I think something that really resonated with me from your introduction is, about our brokenness, right? And we know that so much beauty really comes from the areas where we've been broken. So I am one of two. I have an older brother. I'm born in Canada. My parents are from Jamaica. I come from Jamaican parentage. And so, like, I say that because that was a big part of what shaped me and how I was shaped growing up. And so, born on the pews of church, church is all I know. I'm a church baby. And when I think about some of just kind of, the defining moments as you were, is I became a single mother, as you know, at the age of 19, after having grown up in the church, done all of the things. And that amongst a number of things really changed my life. I had to grow up quickly after having lost my own mother at a very early age. I really parented from the perspective of, God forbid, if, our father was to call me home early, what do I need to deposit into this child before I go? Because I felt like when my mom left, that she left so much for me to be able to carry on with. And so, yeah, so much of my focus was really, I wouldn't even say so much on parenting, because I can't say that I was that parent. I kind of held parenting and purpose and my passions together. And God called me into seminary during those early years of being a single mom, which was weird because I'm like, I don't know any other kind of baby mama ministers, and I moved away, left everything behind, moved out to the West in Saskatchewan to a little place called Moose Jaw with my son, who was probably about 5 at the time, and spent 4.5 years out there in theological training, but really what I call rehab, because it was really in the wilderness where God kind of shaped me and defined my call. And then moved back to Toronto. And as they say, the rest is history.
I love it. And what I love about you, you've got this thriving, you're a speaker, you're a teacher. I know that you are authoring a new book, but
Mhm.
one of the strongest gifts that I see you operating in is this role of coaching. You
Mhm.
have a deep burden to see women and men step into their full purpose. And you've got this incredible teaching on finishing the year strong. And that's why I had to bring you, because here we are as we're, sort of thinking about reflecting on our year, looking ahead to what's to come. You've got some thoughts about how we can end the year strong. That's so unlike anything I've heard. Please take your time and help us. Teach us now. What should we be thinking about as we close out the year?
Absolutely. James chapter 1, verses 23 to 24, I believe, talks to us about it, gives us this image of a man or a woman who looks in a mirror, and then soon after walking away, forgets what they've just seen. And we kind of treat our year like that. We go through these experiences, we have all of these goals and to dos, and we zoom through the year, and we forget, we don't really practice or have habits in place to be students of ourselves and to really extract all of the nuggets that the year has taught us. And so I kind of identified, which I'm going to share with you here today, several um, habits that I really believe that every purpose driven woman or man really needs to have in place to finish the year strong. This is a real high anxiety time for a lot of people. I get most of my business at this time of the year because there are so many people who are like, oh my gosh, December 31st, the year is finishing, and I haven't done the things that I said I wanted to do. And really, my message to them and to those who will watch this and listen to this is that December 31st is not a finish line, it's a milestone. And that simple mental shift is so freeing. I'm going to say that again.
Mm,
December 31st, it's not a
yeah.
finish line, it's a milestone. And so here's what I mean by that. It means that if we can start to see December 31st as not this glaring pending timeline, where God is this demanding judge looking for a return on all the things that He's put in our heart, but really it's a milestone. It's a moment in time to check and to reflect on what we've already done, where we dropped the ball, and what we need to learn so that we can continue forward into the new year with clarity and with confidence and with consistency. And so, some of those things that we need to be looking at in review, our year in review, are things like, this is a big one, especially around women's health, is our health, right? December 31st is a great milestone to look back at our health. Where do you know when you are at your best physically? Do you know when is a difficult time of the year for you based on your health? Are you paying attention to how what's on your calendar and your to-do list is impacting your health? And so, did you meet all of your scheduled appointments, right? Should you have gotten that mammogram? Should you have gotten that checkup? What did you miss? And if you have missed it, it's time to get on top of it. Why? Because as good stewards, if this physical body is not in good condition, we won't be in a position to execute on the things that we want to see happen in our year anyways. And so our milestone or our year in review is looking at things like our health and putting those things back on the calendar for the new year or even before the current year ends, if we haven't gotten to them. Another big thing is looking at gratitude. What are the things we're grateful for? Many of the people that I coach, they often feel like they're not doing anything. Now, as their coach, I'm aware of all of their amazing accomplishments, but this starts to steep in when we don't have a regular habit of looking in the rearview mirror and acknowledging what we've done, what our wins are, and expressing gratitude for those things. And so some ways that we can be intentional about that is actually putting gratitude check-ins throughout the year. When I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough, I'll go and get a sheet of paper and I'll go back 3 months in my calendar and just start to list out. And I'm just like, girl, you killing it. Like you're getting it done. And really looking at and what am I learning about that? When I am winning, what else is happening in my life? What am I doing? What am I doing well? Right. Um, and yeah, just all the different things. We really want to just be in looking at the year in review and looking at what's behind us. A major one is looking at things that God has said. New Year's, we often want a new word, right? Like people are always looking for like, what's the word for the
That's right.
year? And I always say, before God gives you a new word, he just wants to know, have you executed on the last word? And so right?
Yep.
So looking at our year in review is just really having intentional habits in place that when God speaks in whatever way that he's speaking to us, that we're writing them, not just writing them down, because many of us have beautiful notebooks and journals and notes in our phones, but are we going back? And are we looking at what has
Mm,
the Father been saying to me? What has he been teaching me? And
mm,
and what are the themes like, and how do things connect, and how is that speaking into the trajectory of where I should be going next? So those are just a few of the things when we talk about finishing strong. Again, it's really about shifting this panic of getting all of the things done, but it's really a great opportunity to check in with ourselves and check in with God and check in with our calendar so that we can continue forward with purpose and intentionality.
Oh my goodness, Nicole. Do you guys see why I brought her on? Okay. So she's going to get us right and sorted as we close out the year. Now, you talked about affirmations, and we always have these sort of New Year's declarations and things we're going to do. And some people vision board, and everyone's got this formula of success. And we're always stuck on the formula of success, trying to figure out what it is. But I know that you've got some challenging thoughts around that, and you want us to think
Mhm.
differently about the success model. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Absolutely. Whenever I teach or have some type of master class, I always try to weave this quote in there, or this comment, this quote from my quoting myself. But I always say that, listen, I'm about to share with you some tips. I'm about to share with you what's worked for me. But the caveat is under the disclaimer is that everything isn't always a formula. Sometimes it's just favor. And we are
Mm,
often trapped in this mind hold of, if I just knew exactly what she did, or if I knew exactly what he did to get the results that they have, and I duplicate that I'm going to have the same results. That's not always true. There are people who are working just as hard or more harder or less, who are producing the same results. And sometimes it's just favor. Sometimes it's just the grace of God on someone's life in a season. And while we can learn some principles, we always want to make sure that as we are learning, we are still going back to the feet of Jesus and we are saying, okay, Father, what is my blueprint? What is my pattern? What aligns
mm,
uniquely with how you shaped me and wired me and gifted me? You've already placed some things in me, Lord. So how do I use them? How do I operationalize them in this season? Because we don't want to be so fixed on the formula that we forget that no matter how hard we work, if the favor of God does not breathe on what we are doing, it will not produce any fruit.
Oh my goodness. I love that. If God does not breathe on what we're doing, if we don't invite him in to
Hmm.
the process to collaborate with God, then we're just setting ourselves up for failure. And I'm so thankful for this reframing. And there's a question that I think is asked probably more than not anywhere I go to speak, and I'm sure you hear it all the time. And I think we've got the right person in the room because I know that one of your nicknames is the Purpose Coach. But so many people are trying to figure out their purpose in life, the thing that God has called them to do. Do you have any
Hmm.
tips or tools on how people can step into that or begin to get an understanding of their purpose?
Absolutely. And I know some people are going to be upset with me when I share this because it's so simple that they're going to be like, "Really? Really, Nicole?" But it really is the number one mindset shift that we have to make concerning our purpose is that purpose is not a destination, it's a lifestyle. It's
Oh,
not
say
a
say that
what.
again. Say that again.
Yes, yes. It's a purpose. Number one mindset shift, everyone. Purpose is not a destination. It's a lifestyle. It's not a what. It's a who. And so we need to shift away from obsessing about what is this climactic thing that I'm placed in the earth to do, and understand that purpose is really coming into us understanding and an alignment with what God has placed inside of me. So the question now shifts from what should I be doing to who am I, and how is who I am supposed to bear impact on the environment that I'm in. And that's a huge shift because many of us want to know what we should be doing, and we get there and we experience failure or discontentment. And then we go into another job or career or ministry opportunity. We're starting business after business after business, trying to find purpose. And we're not showing up as who we are. And so, if that's not who's showing up to the opportunity, we're constantly going to be missing that shifting purpose mark all the time.
Goodness gracious me. And we can get so caught up on that becomes something we can obsess about and we can miss it altogether. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. And the thing is, because like I said, it's so overly simplistic, we do miss it because it's so close to us, right? And so really, if you're trying to understand what your purpose is, again, we're turning the lens from outward to inward. I'm looking inward, and I'm looking for an understanding of who I am. I'm looking at things like, what do I do effortlessly, right? I always say not easy, because purpose isn't easy, but with ease. There's an ease in which you do certain things. Think about things like what frustrates you when you're in any environment. Like, one of
Mm.
my spiritual gifts is the gift of administration. So whether it's parenting, whether it's in a shopping mall, like administrative details, logistics, how things are flowing, it's always the lens that I see the world through. So what lens do you always seeing the world through? Another great indicator that kind of points to it, believe it or not, is criticism. Joseph is a perfect example of this. When we read the story of Joseph, his brothers, his brothers hated him. And in I think 25, chapter 25, it says when they saw him coming, they're like, "Oh, here comes that dreamer," right? But they didn't realize that, when Joseph didn't realize that, the very thing that they were using to be a taunt and a point of, and they were weaponizing his gift, that in fact what was a gift they were weaponizing. So what are some of the things that people, like, kind of get on you on or criticize and point out? It's pointing to some of your the natural ways that God has wired you, and
So
that is where
good.
your purpose is. That is where your sweet spot is.
So good. This is a little bit random, but it's so good because I made a post maybe about a week ago and I said, shout out to all of the people who ever got on their report card talks a lot. I said you're probably killing the game right now.
Right?
Right? There's all these signs of like the things that come easy to us, the things that just
Mhm.
are. And someone asked me one time about purpose, and I said this. I'm sure that you'll have some thoughts. I said, "What is the thing that lights you up?" And you spoke about
Mhm.
that already. What is the thing you could do with no pay? What is the thing you could do with no sleep, or you could do and hours pass by, and
Mhm.
time just stands still? Those are some indicators that this is something that just flows out of me, something I gravitate to. And also, that was the interesting one. Where are your tension points? What are the things that get you frustrated? That could be the thing. Like, just
Mhm.
injustice drives me nuts, and that I realized, oh,
Mm.
justice is your thing. And so it's a beautiful way to reframe it. Thank you for that,
Yeah.
Nicole. Gosh, we needed that. Listen, I want to talk really quickly about, you've got a brand new book coming out. Like, let's tell the
Yes.
world. My goodness, it's called Courage and Confidence. It's your first book, and it'll be coming out in the spring of 2024. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about the full title and the why behind the book.
Yeah, so the book is called Courage and Confidence, a bold guide to unboxing who you were created to be. And this book is really speaking to the individual who has given God their yes, but they are still living a subpar version of who they were created to be. And so the core concept or conversation in the book is this tug of war or tension that exists between our created self, which is, you know, before anything got to touch who we were, all the beautiful way God has wired us, and what I coin as our curated self, which is the version of us that kind of appears as it interacts with the different elements of life. And so there's this tug of war that exists between the two. And so this book is a tool, it's an equipping agent to really teach us on how to unbox ourselves, unbox our created self so that we can get back into alignment with the created design that the creator intended for us from the very beginning.
Wow, I love that. And in our sort of pre-interview conversation, you spoke about this phrase, "our curated selves." That
Mhm.
just hit me between the eyes. Please unpack that real quick for us.
Yeah, I think where that concept kind of came from for me is I always felt this duplicity. There was the me that I knew was kind of in there, but then there's the me that my mom's telling me to be. There's the me that church expects out of me. Then there's the me at work, and just all of these different versions of who I am that are, and there was always this internal warring going on. And it wasn't until that revelation and God started to kind of unpack that with me, through therapy and just healing and deliverance, to really bring me into a place of singularity, of identity, that I was like, that's when you talk about purpose, that's the sweet spot, and that's where I'm most powerful and I have the most impact. So when we talk about our curated self, it's looking at things that we may have brought about by our own hands. And it's also looking at some of the social stuff, right? So how we were raised. It's looking at just social conversations. It's looking at misinterpreted and misinformed biblical ideologies. It's just looking at all of the different places where we are constantly receiving messages about who we are that's leading us further and further away from the blueprint God originally designed. And so that's our curated identity. And many of us are living in that version of ourselves and wondering why we're not more fruitful, why we are not walking in joy, why we're not producing more. And it's really because the glory of God, the power of God, the anointing that has been set apart just for you to be able to do to walk in purpose with ease, it's designated for that curated identity. So, I always say, if you picture it as the power of God pouring out over us like a waterfall, if it's pouring right here where our created identity is, the more and more we shift into this, handmade and man-made version of ourselves. We might be experiencing little droplets of it, but we're not walking in the fullness of it. And that's where the heaviness of life comes. And so if we want to be able to move with ease, not easily, but with ease, really, God is calling us back into that created position and posture.
Oh, goodness. Guys, we're talking with purpose coach Nicole Salmon, author of a brand new book set to hit the shelves in spring called Courage and Confidence. You need to look for it. I'm sure there's going to be additional tools coming alongside of it. Nicole, you have such a beautiful way of shaping us and giving us tools to launch well, finish strong. How can we track with you? Tell us all the places we can find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me at my website, Nicole O, don't forget the letter O, Salmon, spelled just like the fish, NicoleOSalmon.com. I always say that I vacation on Facebook, but I live on Instagram. So you can find me in either of those places under the same name, Nicole O Salmon. You just plug that in on any social media platform, and of course on the Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app, and you can find me there as well.
Awesome. I am so thankful. I want to thank you for coming on the path. And, it's been just such a joy talking to you. Just give us one quick final thought, anything you want us to know.
Absolutely. The whole earth is groaning in anticipation for the sons and the daughters of God to arise. And so, if ever there has been a need for what's inside of you, it is in this season. And so, there is just the heartbeat of God, I believe, for every listener, is for you to finally shed the weight of expectations, finally shed the weight of what everyone else has put on you, and come into the freedom and the liberty that exists with just carrying the cross. His cross is light, his yoke is so easy. And so he's inviting you into a purpose filled life with him that is simply, when we talk about calling, that word simply means invitation. And he is inviting you into a partnership with him to co-collaborate on the life of your dreams. So I hope that this has inspired you to step into that and to find your unique place of purpose in the earth.
Wow, I want to just thank Nicole Salmon for joining us. Guys, what an incredible conversation. I loved it. As I'm thinking about moving ahead and what I want to bring with me, what I want to let go, there's so much time for beautiful reflection. Can I encourage you as well to take some of the pointers that Nicole gave us as we finish this year strong? I hope that you find your purpose. I hope that you tap into it and that you do everything that God has called you to do without apology, and that you do it boldly in this next coming year. Until then, keep living, keep learning, keep loving, and let's finish strong. I'll see you on the path.
Thank you for listening to On the Path podcast with Cheryl Nembhard, brought to you by Fight for Freedom. Please like, download, and subscribe. This has been an Exousia Media production.